911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience. I am so sorry that I'm late. I do apologize. It has been an absolute crazy day for me, and I have been running amok, so to speak. Um, and like I said, I'm really sorry. Um, but I'm here now, and I appreciate all of your patience. How you guys doing? Did you guys have a good Saturday? Um, hey, Tech Deaf, good to see you, my dear. Hey, Jari. Hey, Smokin' Tea, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, Deborah. Hey, Boston. Hey, Robin. Hi, Mitzi. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you could make it too. Hi, GP. Hey, Mrs. Thang. How are you? Good to see you, my dear. Hey, Colette. Thank you for being here. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Polygraph. Hi, Rescue, all the dogs. How are you doing? That's good to hear, Melissa. Hey, Stephanie, how are you? Good to have you with me. Hey, Sharon. Hi, Sierra. Good to see you. Hi, Danger Dave. How are you? Hey, Country Girl. Hey, Kamala. How are you? Hi, Anne. How are you? Good to see all of you. Oh, Boston, you are always so kind. Thank you. I just threw my hair up. I didn't even have time to do anything. I mean, I always wear my hair up when it's hot outside. So, actually, we had rain move in late last night and this morning, and it's actually very nice outside right now. It blew all the humidity kind of out of here, and it's really nice. But thank you so much. Awesome, Polygraph. That's awesome. Oh, hey, Deb. Thank you so much. You are so kind. You are so kind. And you too, Melissa. Hey, Phil. How are you doing? Thanks, Kamala. I'm so glad. Oh, Smoking Tea, I hope it's nothing serious. I hope you feel better real soon. Hey, Chris, how are you? Let's see if I missed any. Thank you so much, Deb. Like I said, I just kind of threw it up on my head. I know I usually always have my hair down. I think I've only had my hair up maybe twice the whole time I've had my channel. Hey, Lisa. How are you, my dear? I'm so glad to see you. Thank you for being with us. Yeah, it is kind of nice. I mean, it's really nice to have the coolness outside. We need it for sure. At least I do. It's easier on my asthma if it's not so so crazy, you know. So the Delphi murders. We're going to talk about Delphi tonight. And I happened upon a channel that I have never watched before. It looks to be a fairly new channel. And the channel that I happened upon had a video. The channel is Turbo Time. And I am going to put the channel down here in the chat so you guys can go there. But the channel uploaded a video on this yesterday. The video is about a woman who worked with Richard Allen at Walmart in 2010 in Lafayette. So we're going to talk about it and what she had to say, what she had to say about Richard Allen and what that might mean to us when we try to figure out who Richard Allen is. Because one of the things that I can tell you is that Richard Allen has been kind of like an unknown to us in a lot of ways. And we really don't know a whole lot about him. With no social media of his to go back to look at, we don't really have an idea of who this man is. There's not been, and I mean, I've said this before, there's been very little commentary out there from anyone who knew Richard before any of this happened. And so having people start to come out and talk about him in some way can give us a little bit of an insight. I want to put this out here. I do not know if any of what I'm going to tell you, if any of it's real, or not. I don't see why this person would have any reason to lie about this stuff. But then again, I don't know. The channel is called Turbo Time, and she he has a person that recounts the story of working with Richard Allen, or Rick as they knew him, at the Lafayette Walmart back in 2010. And the person that owns this channel, and I'm not familiar with them, said that they spoke to this person on Wednesday, July the 5th, and that they talked to them, who recounted and confirmed the dates for some really creepy and unsettling incidents that she personally had with Richard Allen while she worked for him at a Walmart. And the Walmart was located on Commerce Drive in Lafayette, Indiana, back in 2010. Richard Allen was transferred from this store to the Bourbonnais Bradley, Illinois Walmart in 2010. And he continued with his strange encounters with women at that store as well. And he ended up getting dismissed from there in 2012. Now, my really good friend, the Inquisitor, has done a couple of videos on Richard Allen in his years at the Bradley store and being in Illinois. So if you want to see those, I'm going to post those for you as well in the, hold on a second, in the chat, so that you guys can look at these for yourself. And he does amazing work. The Inquisitor does. So anything that we would get from him, I firmly believe has been has been vetted and is the real deal. She also quotes in her description of her video that she put out on this, that this woman, and I'm not going to use her name, is thinking about having or doing an interview with our also very good friend Aspen Connor, which I would love to see that interview. So I hope that that comes to fruition. But what she talked about in the video was, like I said, working with him at the Lafayette, Indiana Walmart. She worked third shift as an overnight stalker. So she stocked shelves and stocked, merchandise. And I believe that. I do believe that, Deb, because of who she's quoting. I firmly do believe this. So, Walmart has several shift managers that work underneath a general manager. If you guys are not aware of how the hierarchy works within Walmart. And Rick Allen was a shift manager, and he actually managed the third shift while he was working with this particular individual. And she talks about she never knew him as Richard. She only knew him as Rick. She didn't learn his name was Richard Allen until she saw him on television regarding the Delphi murder case. And at that point is when she realized who he was and that she had worked with him back in 2010. She also got text messages or calls from former coworkers who were like, "Is that Rick from Walmart?" And she was like, "Yeah, it is." She also stated in this video that Kathy Allen also worked at the same store with Rick Allen at the time, and that she worked at the jewelry counter in the store. And this woman did not know Kathy, but whenever she had to interact with her or see her, she said that she was always kind, and there was never anything bad said about Kathy by anyone that she was aware of. She was always not kind and helpful. So Rick and Kathy worked in the store together. Hey, Derek. So good to have you with us. Thank you so much for being here. It's so good to see you. So I thought that was interesting, extremely interesting that Kathy and Rick worked together in this Walmart. She said, but as for Rick, she could definitely tell us some stories. And she proceeds to do just that. And the stories that she talks about are not in any chronological order. They were just basically as she was remembering them when she was talking to this channel. And she said that she was going to tell us a couple of stories about him and then give her general impression of who he was at the time back then. So she said in general, Rick was a funny guy. And as a manager, he was all right at first. So she kind of made that caveat in there, he was okay in the beginning or whatever, but that changed. She said he was not a super strict manager at all. He was easy to work for. He was pretty laid back, and he would joke around with them all the time. He was a manager that chose to interact with the employees on third shift. He didn't isolate himself in the manager's office. and just keep himself separate from them. He would actually go eat with them in their break room instead of staying within the manager's office. So he seemed to be like a personable guy, one who wanted to interact with them. They usually ate sometime around 2 a.m. is when they would have lunch on that shift. And she said she remembers that as time went on with her working with Rick on third shift, he became kind of creepy and flirty with women that he supervised. And he would make very inappropriate comments to them and really made them feel uncomfortable, it sounds like. So things that he would do or say, she recalls that when they would be stocking the shelves at Walmart, he would have to come around and check the departments to make sure that they were not only doing their job, but that the shelves were being stocked appropriately, whatnot. And she said if they happened to be working and were bent over, stocking, or picking something up, he would tend to just kind of stand there behind them, kind of, and linger. And she said when they would ask him what he was doing, he would just smirk at them and smile and kind of say, "I'm watching you do your job." Kind of creepy sounding, if you ask me. So she said that if a group of women happened to be working together, which obviously happens, and if he needed to convey something or talk to the group, he would always say something to the effect of, "Wow, what a lucky guy I am." And then look him up and down. And you ladies know exactly what I'm talking about when men behave this way, and how, when I talk about how they look you up and down and kind of size you up, so to speak. And she said they would just kind of roll their eyes, and let it slide, and tell him to stop it or quit. It was kind of them thinking, this is just Rick being Rick. And they would just laugh it off. She says that she didn't feel like this was malicious at all. And so they basically just blew it off. She said the third shift crew was a very close-knit group, a very unique group. I think anybody who's ever worked third shift could tell you that not everybody can do that shift work. And it takes a special kind of group of people to do that. She said the third shift crew had a dark sense of humor and a unique crowd. And she said nobody really took him seriously that worked third shift. She said that after work one morning, a bunch of them, females and males, went to Rick Allen's house. This is where I got confused, because she made a point of saying it was not the house in Delphi, but Rick Allen bought that house in 2006. So I don't know what other house they would have went to, unless he had a house somewhere else that nobody knows about. So that bothered me. That kind of threw up the bristles on my neck on, did this really happen? Because it had to have been at the house in Delphi, didn't it? I don't know. So, sorry. She said that while they were at the house, they went ahead and had a cookout and basically grilled out, and nothing unusual happened. So again, he's interacting with his subordinates, the people below him. And a lot of times, and most often, and I know Walmart's policies, that's against Walmart's policies. So, she said sometime later, she wanted to recount a story that happened to her. And she goes on to tell us that she is a gay woman with a fiance who works with her at Walmart. So the two of them work third shift at Walmart with Richard Allen, or Rick. And she said that they noticed going forward that he was being more flirty and being more inappropriate with them than others. And one time he asked them, the two of them, when they were together, if they'd ever been in a threesome. And he said, I bet guys are always asking you two for one. And he went on to tell them, I bet all your guy friends would do anything to hook up with you. She says that she wasn't offended by that, but she just thought, wow, this guy's a creep, is what she went on to say. She went on to tell a story about when they went to a Burger King one night for lunch, and they had taken a whole bunch of orders from coworkers, so they had quite a bit of food to get and drinks. And Rick Allen was like, let me go with you. And he was pretty insistent. He said, you can't carry all that food and drink by yourselves. And he also insisted on driving. And so they were in his car and they were on their way to the Burger King. And she said that the Burger King was only like 2 minutes from the Walmart, so very, very close. And she didn't recall any of the conversation that they had on that drive. All she did recall was that she was creeped out and she wanted to get out of that car. She said that the orders were taking an extremely long time to get through, and that her and the other person with her was feeling uncomfortable because they were going to be late getting back from lunch. And Rick pipes up and says, oh, don't worry, you won't be late because we can stay gone as long as we want. I'll make sure that you don't get in trouble. I guess they must have, from what her story says, they must have made some sort of a eye roll or some sort of a weird expression or whatever, because he came back and said, what? You don't want to hang out with me? Kind of like, what's wrong with you guys? And when he told them that, they could be gone as long as they wanted, he winked at them. And they were both like, we want to get the heck out of here. We want to go back to work. We want to they were just like wanting to get out. And so, he went on to say to them, and this is what's really weird, is he went on to say to them, what do you think I'm going to do? Kidnap you or something? And he laughed. And she said, knowing what she knows now, she shudders when she thinks of that comment that he made. And that memory that she has of that moment. He didn't do anything out of anything at all, and they went back to work. She remembered another night when they went out for lunch to a Taco Bell, And that one took a while because they were, again, waiting in line. This time, Rick didn't go with them. He waited back at the store. And when they got back with the food, he's like, what took you guys so long? Did you guys have a quickie in the parking lot? Wow, I wonder if that's on the video camera. And I mean, most of us who've worked for the last, let's just say 20 to 25 years know that most companies, and especially large ones, have extreme measures in place to stop sexual harassment in the workplace. If nothing short of anything, this is all sexual harassment, and it's sexual harassment by a manager to their subordinates, which to me is even worse than just sexual harassment between two coworkers, because they can so use their power over you. So I'm just like, wow. But anyway, so he, they were like, man, this guy is a super creep. Super creep. In fact, they said he was a super creeper status. Another shift that they worked, she recounts that he followed them into the women's bathroom, just right behind them, and was trying to make small talk with them. And they were immediately uncomfortable. And they asked him what the heck he was doing. And they said, oh, there's been a report of shoplifted merchandise here in this bathroom, and I'm just here to check it out. And of course, the women were like, what the heck else? Whatever. We don't buy that for 1 minute. And they must again kind of looked at him odd, or like he was, a creep, because he made the comment again, what, you don't want to hang out with me? So it sounds like this guy has a real problem, an ego problem. Like if you reject him, maybe, not sure, but we'll talk about that when we're done here. But so and they went on to say, no, we don't want to hang out with you. And they went into the stalls and they closed the doors behind them, and he soon left. After this happened, or at some point, a group of women from third shift that he worked with went to the general manager of the Walmart store and conveyed to him or her that they didn't feel comfortable working around Rick Allen anymore. And it was soon after that he was transferred out of that store. She didn't know where or when or any of that, but the Inquisitor knows. And that's when he went to the Bourbonnais store in Bradley, Illinois. And soon after, like I said, he was there. It sounds like he continued the same behavior towards the women there. And he was finally let go from that store. So, she said that she really had actually forgotten about him all these years later until he appeared on her television screen on the news. And when she saw him, she was like, oh my gosh, that's Rick from Walmart. So what does that tell us, you guys? Rick Allen was a creep and a creeper while he worked at Walmart, according to this person. It's really important when you're trying to build a character, or trying to build a description of your character and what type of person you are. to have this kind of information and these kinds of witness accounts. Because if he had a pattern of this kind of behavior towards women at the work, especially in the workplace, which we all know is a no-no, he didn't care. He felt that he was above getting in trouble. He was a manager. He could get away with this. Nobody was going to turn him in, right? Nobody was going to talk, about this to anybody else, right? He was just being funny. He was just trying to get them all to like him and interact with him or whatever. It's one thing to make some sort of a joke, but to come right out and ask women if they will do a threesome with you, and then knowing also that they are gay women, you talk about having no respect for women. To me, that says a lot, an absolute lot. And like she says, just because he talks about, this kind of stuff, it doesn't make him a murderer, okay? But it does give us an insight into who Rick Allen was and what his mindset was. He definitely gave off creepy vibes to the women who worked with him on third shift at Walmart. And I have never, this is the first time I have ever heard anyone describe Rick Allen as a creepy guy. What I think is interesting, there is, from way back in the early days, right after Abby and Libby were murdered, there was a conversation that happened where the families were talking about what they had heard or listened to on the audio recording from Libby's phone. And at one point, Anna Williams and Becky said, the girls made a comment, "Is that creepy guy still behind us?" I don't know if that happened. I'm just relaying what I remember. But I do think it's interesting that they felt him as may have felt him as creepy, and now we hear him saying something like, him being described as a creepy guy. And I agree with you, Hoosier. I do. I wonder about this too, because I do know that that is very true. However, if they don't have proof of the harassment and it's just a he said, she said, they may transfer him depending on that situation. Walmart's not a perfect company by any sense of the word. I have had family members who work there. Trust me, it is not perfect. And they do not always follow the company's policies. And obviously, if this is true, Richard Allen wasn't, because I know for one, you are not supposed to mingle with the subordinates that you are supervising. I also know that third shift supervisors and third shift employees are so much differently treated than their regular full-time people that work during the day, because what happens on third shift pretty much stays on third shift at that company. There's just stuff that happens that people are not aware of. But like I said, all of that sounds and really seems extremely interesting to me. And I kind of liked the way she put I shouldn't say she, because I don't know who's behind the channel, but the way they did the video, I thought was extremely good. It's only a 6-minute video. It's not, to me, it's not trying to draw all kinds of conclusions. It just puts the information out there and that's it. So who knows? But it does give, if it is true, it gives us a different insight into who Richard may possibly be. And if this guy was into this kind of behavior, anything is possible. Now, does it really scream of what he may be into in a sexual type of way? No, because I guarantee you, I don't have stats on this, but I know for a fact, just because of my age and all the interactions that I've had in my life, that the majority of men have a huge fantasy of two women together. So that would probably be something as along the lines of what he was thinking or what he said. So creepy, yes, but unusual makes him a killer. No, just a creepy guy. I just think it does speak to his disregard and lack of respect for women. I would be so, I don't know what, how to describe it. If my manager followed me into the bathroom, that would really creep me out. I really wouldn't know what to think or what to say. Those are some really strange kind of behaviors. But again, like I said, I felt that it was just like an eye opener kind of thing for more insight into who Rick Allen is. I still find it amazing that we don't have any interviews out there of any of his friends or any of the people who went to school with him or anybody that played pool with him or had any kind of interactions. And that has always bothered me. I mean, we are, 10 months into this with him, and I just think it's strange. I don't know. It's just strange to me, because usually in this kind of a situation, people will come out and talk about the suspect, whether good or bad. They're gonna come out and tell their story and tell their truth. So yeah, very interesting. It's definitely worth watching. And again, make sure you watch the Inquisitors videos, because he does amazing stuff, guys. And he doesn't do any of this for fame or glory. He just puts out the information and lets all of us, think for ourselves, basically. And I love that about him. He's a really great person, and he's doing this for all the right reasons. So the one thing that bothered me, like I said, about the video was the whole going to his house for a cookout, but it wasn't the house in Delphi. Where was it then? Because he bought the house in Delphi in 2006 and has lived there. So since this was 2010, 4 years later, what house would they have gone to? And, it's, I don't know. You watch him in some of the pool videos in the, when he's at, playing pool in the pool hall, and he's just kind of standing there off away from everyone. And I didn't really see him in the one long one. I really didn't see him too much interact with anyone, maybe one person and his wife. And that was just odd to me as well. For somebody who's supposed to be a real funny guy, outgoing, whatever, he didn't appear that way. Again, this was after 2017. So he may have changed his whole demeanor and decided to be more, quiet. I've heard things like when he would go out to eat in Delphi after 2017 with Kathy, he wouldn't order. She ordered for him. He wouldn't speak up. He spoke real softly, almost like he didn't want people to recognize him. But yet he had to at work. He had to talk there, right? So yeah, it's hard. There's so many stories. I don't know. There's just so many stories, and it just makes you kind of wonder what was going on in this guy's head, and what everybody wants to know, and I want to know as well. What's the reason for this crime? We may never know that, and a lot of criminals and a lot of killers, we never know what their reason was behind it. But killing with a knife is an extremely personal type of crime. And the FBI behavioral analysis will tell you that people who do that, and that's such an up close and personal type of killing, it's usually extremely personal. It's a very personal thing. So I don't know. I just, it's really mind boggling. But anyway, I just thought that was a really interesting bit of information that popped up yesterday. And I couldn't get my head to stop thinking about it. I was just like, my head was going in all these different directions, and especially some of the comments that he supposedly made. And, I don't know. Yeah, Dave, I agree with you. I do believe it's power and control. And because I think that the FBI's profile was spot on with this. I really do. And I do believe that this was all about power and control. Was it just power and control and not sexually motivated, but he tried to make it sexually motivated by staging? Hey, Stephanie, I did not know that. the pictures of him, when he was in Tennessee, that to me is spot on, absolutely spot on, bridge guy. So that's my opinion. But like I said, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I just wanted to put it and just to, give the airwaves. I was when I saw this person that has this channel speak about, hang on a second, I need to get my Gatorade. Got to grab it. Sorry, guys. When they were talking about Aspen and about the Inquisitor, I highly respect both of them. And so that's why I chose to go ahead and talk about what they put out. But so I also watched it was a long news story. I'd have to go back and find out where it was, but I watched it this week, and it was like an hour and a half story on the Stevenson murders is that in Tennessee? Those are the ones, the Stevenson murders. Let me look. I'm looking that up. Hold on a second, guys. Yeah, I think it was, sorry guys, I think it was Kentucky. And the Stevenson murders happened in Boone County. And the person who is heading that investigation got some information. We don't know. They wouldn't tell us what it was. But whatever it was that made them want to look at the Delphi case. And I don't know if it was the staging or what it was, but they won't tell us what that was. And hold on a second, guys. My nose. Oh yeah. So Yes, HCC could very well be. But I thought it was real interesting, and I watched the whole thing on that case. And hey, buddy, come here. Come on, what do you want? Don't bite on me. He's feeling lonely. I've been really busy these last couple days, and he has not gotten a lot of my attention. When he doesn't get my attention, he demands it. So this is Finn, everybody. He is my my sweetheart. He is one of a kind. He has the most unique personality. But and yeah, I adore him. He's my sweetie. Yeah, he's my kitty. Yeah, he's my kitty. But yeah. So that case, I thought it was quite, like I said, quite interesting how that case kind of came out of wherever, nowhere, anywhere, whatever, where they were looking into Delphi. But they did come out and say that there was no link to Delphi at all. So, but they were just questioning it. So, I will be super interested to find out what the staging at the crime scene is in this case, because I think it will answer a lot of unanswered questions that all of us have. But yeah, I was shocked to find out that Richard and Kathy worked together at Walmart. I did not expect to hear that. So I wonder if she was aware of his flirtatious behavior to coworkers and his disgusting behavior to coworkers. I wonder if she was aware of it. Certainly, she had to have heard the rumors, or because everybody talks in a work environment, and when that kind of stuff's going on, it doesn't take it long to spread through the break room and through the ranks of people, you know. But so yeah. Finn, are you okay? That was what I was going to talk about tonight, you guys. Really, I really didn't have a whole lot else. I was thinking that I've watched quite a few videos on Delphi over the last few days, and as we had talked before, there's really not a lot right now. Yeah, he is. He's got, unfortunately, like I said, he and I are, so close, but, in so many different ways, but he has really bad allergies. And so when he starts having his allergy stuff, he starts doing what you guys just heard, and he sneezes. So, yeah, he sneezes. It's just, yeah, it's kind of crazy. But the vet has checked him out numerous different times. There isn't anything wrong with him physically at all. He just has the allergies. So when he sneezes and gets crazy like that, usually if I calm him down, it stops. But yeah, he's just funny. Between me coughing with my asthma and him sneezing, we're a pair. Hey, Jerry, how are you? Good to see you. Um, I think there's anything possible, Polly. I think that he staged the crime scene to make it appear to be something that it wasn't, to lead people. That's cool, Hoosier. I'll have to remember that. I like it that he's glitching. Um, I That's weird. Um, where was my mind going? I believe that he staged the crime scene to take away from his involvement and to lead investigators in a different direction. I definitely believe that that's why the crime scene was staged, to make it appear as it was something that it wasn't. And that's just me. I could be completely wrong and completely off base, but that's just how I feel. And I've pretty much felt that since day one. That this person wanted to make it look like something that it wasn't. So who knows? I mean, again, we're just going to have to wait and see again how that works out. I need to close this. Hold on one second. I'm going to look at something. Oops. Oh. So much crazy going on. I'm telling you. As I told you guys on Thursday night, it's a lot to balance life and the stress of being a content creator that deals with the true crime genre, especially. And there are so many horrific cases out there, and each one has its own evil and disgusting facts and stuff, and it can take a toll. And so, trying to balance that is hard. And I think a lot of times, especially to new YouTubers, they don't get that at first. And it's gung-ho about creation and putting content out and so on. But yeah, it can really, really take a toll if you're not careful and do the self-preservation and self-care that you need to practice. So this is really another example of some of the, it's hard to imagine how people feel safe these days, but this is a story that I'm sure a lot of women can relate to, but this is basically the story. They met through a dating app and they talked frequently for just over a month before deciding to meet. He was charming, he was funny, he was intelligent, and he was handsome. They did finally meet at a bar and a grill, and they talked and they laughed and they ate and they danced. And at the end of the night, just after midnight, they talked about seeing each other again. And he asked if he could walk her to his car or to her car. What a gentleman, she thought. The parking lot was dark and nearly empty. And they got to her car. And he reached out to hug her, or so she thought. She reached out to receive his hug, and he suddenly punched her hard in the face. She fell backwards and hit the asphalt. She blacked out, maybe for a few seconds, and when she opened her eyes, he was straddling her body, gripping her arms, and he was banging her head into the ground, and she was dizzy. She was using all of her energy to try and not pass out. She started to scream, and as she lifted her knee into his groin, he grabbed his groin in pain, and she saw an opportunity to lean up and elbow him in the face. She said he fell back onto his ass, and she fell backwards. Two men who happened to be walking through the parking lot saw what was happening and rushed to her aid. One of the men grabbed him, bringing his arms behind his back, and brought him face down on the asphalt, placing his knee into his back. They were two off-duty police officers. The other man came rushing to her. He told her to hold still as he called 911. He comforted her as the partner continued to hold down the man who had just assaulted her, and police and an ambulance came. He was taken to jail, and she was taken to the hospital. The officer who comforted her rode with her in the ambulance to the hospital. And she found out yesterday from law enforcement that the assailant has a history of violence against women. The DA is pressing charges, and she's going to testify in court. Pictures of her and her statements were all taken, and she is now recovering at home. And she wants all women to be very, very careful of meeting anyone through dating apps or online activity. I just don't know how anybody does it. I mean, I just can't even imagine being out there in the dating scene right now, you guys. You know, it's just, they're everywhere. You know, it's just like we've talked about on the channel. These predators are everywhere. They don't just live and lurk in dark alleys, and they don't look like monsters. They actually look like normal, everyday people. That's what makes this so scary. That's what brings all of this, I think, into our homes and makes us all feel just a little bit less safe. Because we realize how easily this could happen to us or someone we love. So be careful out there, guys. And I know it's not easy, but like I said, you just never know. Here she's having dinner with this person. They're dancing. Everything seems normal until she gets alone with him. And then everything's not normal. And see, that's how these guys are able to operate. They can appear so normal. And that's why, you know, I get it. Everybody's always asking, well, how did Kathy Allen not know this part of Rick Allen? How did she not know that he was capable of this? Because they are so good at compartmentalizing their psychosis or their what am I trying to say? Their psychopathic nature, I guess is what I want to say. They're good at hiding it. And just like I said, some of these guys have committed these crimes and they just return back home, crawl into bed next to their wives as if nothing happened. Some of them go back home and sit down and have a meal and eat dinner just as if nothing ever happened. We just don't know what goes on in people's homes. We just don't. We can assume all we want, but man, you know, It's pretty doggone scary. And they can be your family. They can, Grace. You are absolutely right. They can be your family. And a lot of times when that is revealed, it's super hard to wrap your arms around it and understand how that can be. So when people are going at Kathy about why she didn't do this and why she didn't do that and why she didn't notice this and why she didn't notice that, I just think it's best to try to be a little less judgmental, because until you're put into that situation, you have no idea how you are going to react. And Kamala's right. BTK's wife, his family, his children, and the church folk that he, went to church with every Sunday and throughout the week, because he was the president of the congregation, had no idea what this man was and what he was capable of. And the same thing is with the Golden State Killer is a great example as well. Look at how he was in law enforcement, and nobody knew what this guy was out there doing. So it's really easy for them to fly under the radar. And it's hard for us to understand it because we're quote unquote normal, and we can never understand that kind of depravity and heinous behavior. I will never understand how another human being can take another human life. I will never understand that, and especially when it comes to children. You've got, we got Brian Koberger up in Idaho, and we've got Richard Allen in Indiana. And I'm sitting here looking at these two individuals, and I see not only creepy individuals, but hey, Marbles, thank you so much. But yeah, I'm like, what in the world is going on with these two? Brian Koberger's eyes just have always made me think there's something not right there. And when I look at certain pictures of Richard Allen, I have the same kind of feeling about him. Just a really dark emptiness about their eyes. And that is just something that won't disappear for me. So who knows? Innocent until proven guilty. They both are in a court of law, but we all have our opinions, right? So yeah, I thought that story of Deanne's, of what happened to her is just gut-wrenching. And the violence that just never seems to be there. There's just so much of it's just constant. The violence that's in our headlines and that's happening everywhere. What else was I going to say? A cold case in Idaho from 1987, you guys, was solved by the Boise Police Department. A 36-year-old question of who murdered Joyce Casper was finally answered. So in the early morning hours of Tuesday, October 13th, 1987, police found the lifeless body of 65-year-old Joyce Casper in her vehicle near Day Drive and Robert Street. The owner of the nearby Casper's Vista Hallmark shop had been sexually assaulted and murdered. Almost 36 years later, the Boise Police Department announced that they have confirmed that Frank A. Rodriguez was responsible for this murder. He died in 2007. 2 weeks before her murder, Casper had reported that a man suspected to be between 17 and 25 years old had attempted to assault her in her store. Police were unable to locate or identify the suspect in the assault or in the murder. After several attempts over the years by the Boise Police Department's Violent Crimes Unit and Special Victims Unit, the suspect with DNA collected from the scene, well, efforts finally paid off. Using new technology to identify the genealogical family tree, authorities between 2019 and 2023 conducted interviews and arranged for DNA tests with probable relatives to narrow down the family tree. And all evidence pointed towards Rodriguez. Investigators then met with family members of Rodriguez and collected DNA swabs, enabling them to confirm that Rodriguez was the person responsible for Casper's murder. The Boise Police Department is currently working with other law enforcement agencies around the country to see if Rodriguez is connected to any other unsolved investigations. So we just keep having more and more of these cases. Hey, Derek, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. We just keep having more and more of these cases being solved by the genealogy DNA tracing, where they build back family trees working backwards. And I think it's absolutely amazing. And I am so happy to see this, you guys. I mean, truly, it is it's a great thing. They're solving more and more every day with this. And you know, some of these cases are so old. I saw that they solved a case from 1930, and it was a missing person case, murder, and or not a murder, I'm sorry. The case that I'm thinking of was a missing person. It was a little girl, 6-year-old little girl, who was taken from Chicago, and she was taken from her family by a woman. The family was hurting really bad. This was during the Depression. They were just really hurting. They had 4 children. Food was scarce. They were having all kinds of issues. And so the dad of the family put out a notice in a newspaper about that they would accept help from anyone. Well, that was the wrong thing to do, because not only did they have good people showing up, but they had bad people showing up. And they had this woman show up at the house who wanted the little she was 2 years old, 2-year-old little girl. She ended up stealing her. She ended up taking her, and with the premise she was going to take her to get some clothes around the street corner. Told the mom she was going to go buy clothes for her or something, and she ended up taking her. And they ended up finding the woman who did it, and they found the little girl, and she was raised by a family out of California. But it was one of the oldest missing, or the oldest missing person case in Chicago. It was just incredible, the story. And they did this with genealogy and DNA. And I just thought that was truly incredible and remarkable. The sad thing is that some of the family members weren't still alive when all this came about. But the genealogy and the DNA is constantly revolving and getting better. So I think these cases, some of them are, we're going to see things solved because of that. Finn is not always nice to me, if you can see. Not always. He did that in the middle of the night. Hey, Mother of Dragons, how are you? Hey, Teresa, how are you? So good to see you. Hey, Ray Jones. But yeah, so I thought that stuff was good information to pass along to you guys tonight. And we just need to remember to, like, everybody says, to keep an open mind and not close ourselves into a box regarding any of these cases when we're looking at them. I am hopefully optimistic that things are going to work out well in the Delphi case. I know that there's still possibilities to have some issues with this case. It is definitely not a slam dunk. We've got an uphill battle with certain things, but we don't know everything. And I still think that the prosecution has some things up their sleeves that we just don't know about. And we're just going to have to wait and see what those are. So I know there's a lot of speculation out there that the case won't even make it to trial. Somebody asked me the other day if I thought the trial was going to be in January. It would not be at all. I would not at all be surprised if the trial is pushed back and not happening in January. I would not be surprised if there is a plea in the case, and I won't be surprised if the case actually goes to trial in January. So I'm open to all of it. I really am. I'm open to pretty much anything because yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in this case. But I'm really glad that you guys all tuned in with me tonight. And stayed here with me. I know that Steve from True Crime Web is coming to Indiana next week, and I am anxious for that trip because he is making that trip with Ruckus. And who couldn't, who wouldn't be happy to have Ruckus and Steve traveling through their area, dealing with true crime cases. They're going to be looking at Flora, Delphi, Evansdale. So there's a lot going on. And I can't say enough about Steve with True Crime Web. You guys, if you haven't checked him out, please make sure that you do. You will not be sorry. But I can't imagine that anybody that's watching me isn't watching him, because he's just amazing. He's just incredible. Such a down-to-earth guy, and Mrs. Steve is amazing too. So, but that's all I have for you guys tonight. I will see you guys all on Tuesday night. I have my grandson back starting next week for the next 2 weeks until he starts kindergarten. And then I'll be back to doing Tuesday mornings. So I really like doing my live streams during the day. I really got liking that. And I had started it right before school went out. But, I didn't even stop and think about the fact that I would have him. And you can't really do a live podcast on true crime with a nearly 6-year-old running around. So, but yeah, guys, I'll see you guys all on Tuesday night. Please have a safe and blessed rest of your weekend. If you get a chance, pay it forward. Do something wonderful for someone, and stay well and be kind. I will see you guys all later. Thank you so much for tuning in, and anyone watching my live on replay, I am so thankful for all of you. Good night, everybody.